Hey everybody, it's Ross Payton, and we're here with another episode of Role Playing Public Radio. I'll be your host, Bridget. My pronouns are she, her. I am an award-winning author, and what's the other thing I say? Award-winning author, industry-leading game designer, God's most special princess, and most interesting girl in the world. And of course, I have our three players with us. We have Faye, don't look for her, you know her. Rachel, new to the group, consummate theater kid, and Winter, who also goes by Lydia. Is that it? That everybody? You all excited to be here?
Yeah.
Stoked.
So, Faye, have you been keeping session notes? Do you want to quickly go over your session notes from what happened last time?
Let me see. I mostly took notes of notes about the characters, some of which would be for Rush's personal use, and some of which are just details, like Xastra Telarr is a hugger.
That's really cute.
I'm
I
going to
love
be so
that.
interested in seeing that. So last session, I believe everybody got their three missions from Val, the proprietress of the Fat Tail in Waterdeep. You have three jobs, one of which is you have to go look at an old and failing mythal. An old and failing mythal. You had to go down to Skullport to receive a delegation of refugees, and you also had to speak with Laeral Silverhand about something. We don't know yet. Val also gave you a box with a memory crystal in it, and you still have no idea what it does, but you do have it on your person. You went and met an acquaintance of Rushk. You met the were-rat named Greshadaga, who is a former priestess of Tolona and has been selling poisons out of Skullport, poisons and antidotes, and working as an agent of the Zentarim, the mercenary organization that does anything for coin in Faerun. You met our refugee delegation, led ostensibly by Nyara Yavail, the Drow princess of Derelift, and he looked very pretty in his outfit. And he came with an attachment of 4 highly trained bodyguards. Despite this, on the way back to bring the refugees to Waterdeep, you were attacked by a group of Drow assassins who just did a really quick attack and then bailed because something disturbed them. And I believe that was it. That was everything we covered last time, right?
Think so.
We decided we were going to go see
The
Yeah,
man.
with your delegates in tow, you're going to go see the Open Lord of Waterdeep, Laeral Silverhand, to try and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So you come out of the portal in... This is why I wrote all these locations down. You come out of the portal in the Dancing Haven, which is the grove growing in the Field Ward that has been dedicated to Eilistraee.
Mhm.
And you walk through the muddied, cobbled streets of the Field Ward and are kind of accosted by the city guard when attempting to cross over the troll wall, or under the troll wall rather, into the rest of the city. But they don't really seem keen on arguing with, 6 or 7 drow. So they just kind of give you various fishy stares and fear for their lives. But as you're headed to the castle ward, because you're going to go see Laeral at the Lord's Tower, Daelia.
Yes.
Ink is chilling in his backpack and then suddenly gets agitated. And he pops up the little top of it and starts tapping your shoulder with one paw and then pointing down an alleyway with the other one.
Okay. I would have the ability to, God, what's the word? Essentially read my familiar's mind or some sort of mind meld situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sending you information in the form of pictures, because
Cool.
he's still a cat, very
Yes.
smart cat, but he's still a cat. And he's sending you a picture of, and you have to imagine that his thoughts are drawn in crayon by a child. He's sending you a picture of the alleyway, and hiding in the alleyway is a drow you recognize.
Okay.
It is your handler from Menza Baranzan, the one that believes you are definitely a drow.
Oh no!
Definitely spying for them.
Oh boy. Okay. And have I been spotted or no?
She probably knows you're here. The way
Okay.
your familiar is acting, you probably want to go talk to her, but also
Okay.
probably not something you want to clue the rest of the party into.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, my brain is going slowly for a second. If you will excuse me, I feel like my cat is giving me an issue. It just really wants a rat, and it's just being very insistent. So I will be right back if you will just excuse me for 1 second. And
Would you
she
like us
will
to wait
try
for you?
to extricate herself out of the situation.
I suppose not. I suppose she'll meet us at the tower then.
Yes, I will.
All right.
I will meet you all over there.
Okay. So you steal off into the shadows, and you slide in next to your handler, who she kind of glares at you, but she like always kind of glares at you. So it's very hard to tell if she's mad or happy or just ate something that didn't agree with her. But she just glares at you for a few seconds, and then does one of the little hand signs,
Okay.
that you have to signal back. And it's an easy one. You just make a little spider shadow puppet with your hand. It's not a big deal.
Okay. I will do that and sort of walk up as stealthily as I possibly can.
Okay. And she gets really close to you so that you can have a very whispered conversation. And
Okay.
she's like, "It's good to see that you survived the attack. Though, of course, if you had died, it would mean you were weak and a traitor. So, naturally, I was expecting the best from you. The lady was very pleased with your efforts. You made it look like you were convincingly attempting to attack our assassins. I'm sure
yes.
that did well to uphold your cover in your little group of creatures."
You know, it feels like you didn't have as much confidence in me as I would like to, as I think you should have.
Well, you know what they say. Expect much, desire little.
I guess I can't necessarily argue with that. Is there any other reason that you're here besides?
Yes. I have a task for you.
Okay.
The assault on your party did not go as well as we were expecting it were. So we need you to gather information for us.
Okay.
So
I mean,
need you
a
to
heads
take-
up would have been nice. Probably helped a little bit more if you'd told me something like this was going to happen, but
Do you need to know all the designs of the Great Spider Mother?
I don't
Must
need to
you
know
be
all the
privy to
designs.
every secret?
I mean, ones that involve directly attacking the people that I'm undercover with probably would have been useful, but apparently that's just above what you're able to do, so I will have to
How
keep that in
dare
mind.
you?
You're talking to me, you know. You may be my handler, but I'm the one that's doing all of the work, so.
Well, be that as it may, your insolence will be noted. I would hate to have to tell the matron mother of an unfortunate accident that might befall you.
You know, that's just assuming that something doesn't happen to you first, so just keep that in mind.
She smiles when you threaten her back because, like, Drow are completely insane.
Good job.
So she says, anyway, back to your mission.
Yes.
We need to uncover more information, more than is possible for a single spy to gather on her own. And so I'm giving you this. And she makes you hold out your hand, rather.
Okay.
And she opens a little box. And out of the box, crawling onto your hand,
Oh
is
no.
a very small spider that
Okay.
looks to be made of some kind of volcanic rock.
Ooh.
And she says, this is
Okay.
very simple. I understand that you will be returning to the castle ward. Just put this anywhere inside their little government center. And that's all I will require from you.
See what I can do. You know, just make sure how secretive is this thing going to be? I have to assume that I would hope that that whoever made this would have been good enough to make it so it wasn't going to be discovered immediately.
As long as you drop it off somewhere out of sight, it should be able to hide from most magical or mundane scrutiny.
Is there any
Just-
particular weakness to this thing that I should know about, or just it should be fine wherever it goes?
Well, I wouldn't swallow it, but otherwise it should be quite self-contained. Simply put it in a room where you'll expect there be a lot of important conversation, and it will do the rest.
All right. And it doesn't have any sort of scrying things on it or anything like that?
I believe I have told you all relevant information.
Yes, helpful as always. All right, I'll see what I can do.
Good. I expect only success from you.
As you should. I will be leaving then. Thank you as always.
She just kind of like waves you off and then like slinks back into the shadows the way
Odd.
they are wont to do.
Fucking Drow. Alright, so she's just like very quickly trying to figure out what the fuck she's gonna do with this thing. I think for the moment, she'll probably just like put it in some sort of like dark pouch. And maybe, I don't know if I have would I be able to use some kind of spell that like silence on it or something just to like make it so it can't hear anything from where it is at the moment?
Sure, you could do that.
Okay, I'm just gonna do that as a precaution and stick it in her bag.
Okay. While you're fiddling with the pouch, of course, Ink is sitting on your shoulder and trying to bat at it.
No, don't. I mean,
Well, you know
maybe.
cats and bugs.
Yeah, it's true. She'll just like put it in the bag and just
Adorable.
like put it in the little like in a sort of side pocket, maybe just away from ink temptations.
So do you hurry to catch up to your buddies, or are you just kind of walking
I think she's
along?
going to try and find a rat really quickly just so that she has cover for lying.
Okay.
She wasn't
Okay.
technically lying. Maybe there was a rat in there, over there.
You're really just gonna like feed Ink a rat in front of us?
No, she'll just Ink was just didn't necessarily need to eat the rat, just wanted the rat.
You're just gonna come into the meet up with everybody holding a rat.
Well, the remnants of a rat, I guess.
Remnants of a rat. Okay.
Yeah, I've
Sort
met
of.
cats before.
You enjoy
Hey,
holding
yeah.
on to that then.
Yeah.
All right, so you all managed to catch up with each other on the steps of the Lord's Tower. For some reason, Daelia is holding the remnants of a rat.
So just put it down.
So the Lord's Tower is in the Castle Ward of Waterdeep, which is where all of the like super rich people live, because it's where all the money is. It's next to the North Ward, which is where the rest of all of the money is. This is more like people who have very official-esque offices. It is right up against the foot of the Mount Waterdeep, the mountain that overshadows Waterdeep and blocks it from most weather. The Lord's Tower is made out of white marble and it is very impressive. It's this very ornate, castle-esque structure. It has one of those, I've already forgotten the thing, but it's the built-up earth and then it has the ramp and everything. It's very imposing. But you've been here a couple of times before, and so it's not like a super big deal. And besides, it's a little bit of an eyesore. It's kind of gaudy. When you head to the gates, everybody kind of looks at you a little weird because it's very early in the morning and you are a procession of Drow. But when they see Xastra and Daelia, it's like, well, I guess this is probably okay. Since you have the symbols of Eilistraee on your person.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are escorted to a waiting room that is right outside the council chamber. And from your waiting room, you can hear a little bit of the discussion going on inside. It's mostly just kind of unintelligible to voices, but you could eavesdrop if you want. You have a few minutes before a lay roll will see you. Or if you're impatient, you could just wander in now. What do you want to do?
Pardon me, Mr. Falsa, would you mind holding out your hands?
Of course.
I put some antiseptic on her hands. Please rub them together.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Now,
You know cats.
I unfortunately can't say that I do.
Oh.
Now, would anyone who spent a bit more time here, I give a look to Xastra, care to explain what can be expected of this visit to our delegates?
I cannot say I have been privy to a meeting of this particular type. Presumably she will have many questions.
I see. Is there anything you would recommend as far as making a good impression?
She likes frogs.
Oh.
A gift of something like a frog.
I feel like we might have needed some advanced warning on that if we were going to have a gift.
Let me make sure I understand this correctly. Laeral Silverhand likes frogs? How does one find this out?
She has a bunch of little statues.
Oh, you
I'll
learn
keep that
something
in
new
mind.
every day. Yep.
I didn't know that detail. That's fun.
That's very cute. Is there anything that we're going to want to keep closer to our chests in this meeting, or are we just going in to see what exactly we are being tasked with?
I don't have anything in particular to hide from her.
Nor do I.
All right, then. I guess
Mr. Valsa, is there anything in particular that you might need to hide?
No, I was just more so asking just in case. I don't know everyone's relationship with, the higher-ups in this city, so just wanted to make sure that there wasn't, any sort of, topics of conversation that we shouldn't talk about, or, anything like that. Just, social graces and all that.
Yes. Princess Niara?
Sorry. And then, one of his attendants pushes him. I'm not sorry. And he kind of straightens up and says, I need you to show me the proper bow for meeting the open Lord of Waterdeep.
Of course.
Oh.
Xastra demonstrates.
Niara tries to mimic you and fails miserably.
Oh.
And after a couple more times, it's agreed that perhaps he had just better do another curtsy.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
It's really the thought of the thing that counts.
The thought that counts. I will ponder these words of wisdom, Xastra.
Oh.
So, after a little bit of time, the door opens. A couple of officious-looking soldier types wave you into the room, where you see a group of people huddled over a large table where there are all kinds of maps of Faerun spread out on it. There are 4 people here, and it's kind of an eclectic group, but also at the same time exactly the kind of people you'd see in some kind of arcane war council.
Mm-hmm.
There is a tall, white-haired human woman dressed in very elaborate archmage robes, who is sort of at the center of the discussion. There is an elder-looking gentleman in some kind of nondescript blue robes with a fancy-looking sword belted at his hip. There is an elven woman who is wearing kind of fashionable clothes, very trendy for this time, even though they're still vaguely simple. It's kind of something that really trendy young noblewomen would wear. She's an elvish woman, and you can see she's wearing a little locket that has a little harp symbol on it. And then there is an extremely loud, brash man who is crammed into a set of plate mail and is accentuates everything he says with a jab of his finger or a movement of his shoulders. And they barely seem to notice you when you come in.
I'll step up.
Xastra.
Oh, go ahead.
Xastra will step into the room and then step aside to let everyone else in.
Niara,
Nice.
How good are you at asserting yourself?
I have some training in asserting.
I see. Xastra, might I suggest you handle the primary introduction and let Niara do very little lifting? Spare him the effort, please.
Of course. After we've entered the room, I will step up towards the table.
You hardly have the time to introduce yourself when the man in the plate mail looks up at you, and you recognize him as Onthar Froom. He is a paladin of Torm and a member of the Order of the Gauntlet. And he says, Xastra! Is that really you? Xastra, we used to have such good times together. It's good to see your face. How have you been? You must regale me with stories of your exploits.
It's been a while, Anthar. It's been a very busy night. And there's a lot to talk about.
I'm sure you know, and he says very conspiratorially to everyone, I saw her slay a red wizard of Thay all by herself. There we were in the Well of Dragons. Aerial combat above us in the sky, fire raining down. And he just lapses into this war story. And he goes on and on until Layrel puts a hand on his shoulder and calms him down. And she's much more polite and a more in control leader. And she says, Xastra, thank you for coming here. To what do we owe the pleasure of your visit?
Well, we've come with emissaries of a Drow city that has recently reappeared after an absence of 100 or so years. This is
Absence? Reappeared? What do you mean?
Well, with the first Sundering, as you know, many places have vanished. This was one of them. I would like to present Princess Nyara of Dereleft.
Yara, to his credit, does a very good curtsy.
Mm-hmm.
And Layrel looks a little bit puzzled, but she's definitely keeping it on the down low. And she asks you to repeat yourself. I'm sorry, did you say princess of a Drow city?
Yes.
I was under the impression that Drow were organized into houses and matriarchies.
Well, 100 years out of contact with Wolf will do weird things to Drow society, I suspect.
Indeed. And this is his entire delegation?
Yes.
I see. Xastra, you have done great service to this council before, but I have to wonder, why did you bring 4 heavily armed Drow soldiers into my office on such an obvious lie of a pretext?
Excuse me?
And the rest of the group are kind of looking very serious. The man in the blue robe is muttering something under his breath. The guards have closed in around the doors. And Layrel repeats to herself, you're suggesting a princess of a vanished Drow city who happens to need your help and arrive on my door on the eve that we are discussing reforming the Council of Waterdeep?
I think in my 200 years I have had much more coincidental things happen to me.
Then surely you won't mind if we inspect your so-called refugees. A glance at the faces of Nyara's bodyguards suggests that they would quite mind in inspection.
Just to give context really quickly, we were tasked with helping these refugees to escape the Underdark, actually after being attacked by some Drow mercenaries, and specifically Valtar was the one specifically who had us go and rescue the princess. So these people they do not seem to be in any sort of good graces with Lolth and the current ruling structure of the Drow, from what I can tell.
You said you're here at the behest of Val?
Yes.
I see.
Well, that was the other thing that we needed to talk to you about.
Figured 2 birds, 1 stone and all that.
You hear some mocking giggling, and out from the other waiting room on the other side of the chamber comes a very beautiful woman dressed in a very elaborate dress that almost kind of looks like some kind of gray or silvery fabric meant to resemble dragon wings. And she has this mask on her head, not on her face. It's like how you wear a jaunty mask to let people know that you have a fascinating mask without it covering your face. That also looks like the head of a dragon. She's fanning herself behind an ornate fan, and she says, "So, that creature can't bear to come herself, then?" And you can see a very heavy sigh in Lero's shoulders as she introduces you to Lady Jalanvalos, a very well-connected merchant of Waterdeep.
When I spoke to her, she seemed quite busy.
I bet. Making designs against the city, no doubt. Onthar
I had
starts
no
grumbling
response for
about
this.
conflicts between dragons and the problems it's caused Waterdeep. And,
Well, that's just how things go.
So, seeing the lull in negotiations, I'll step forward, put a hand on Xastra's shoulder. I'll say, perhaps we could deal with this in order, then. The proprietress of the Fat Tail instructed us as to retrieving the delegates. However, she also instructed us to come and see what it was that you kept attempting to summon her for. Let's start there, shall we, Miss Silverhand? Why have you called for the proprietress of the Fat Tail?
well, frankly, as I'm sure you are aware, there is a quite exotic magical problem that has now presented the Lord's Alliance. I hate to restate the obvious, but there is a corpse of a god rotting off the coast of Daggerford, and it is exuding a significant amount of magical energy, which is interfering with the weave all across Faerun. This will be a problem, as Miss Val has various arcane knowledges and other investitures in Waterdeep. We believed it was wise to summon her for aid in these matters. And I see that she has instead decided to send her own delegation.
I believe it is because matters in Waterdeep tend to be very slow-moving and inefficient. However, I see that you summon not necessarily you don't summon her for a financial concern. Rather, it seems you want an ecological consultant, given the severity of the situation in the ocean. Is that correct?
That is quite correct. A summation that I would expect from a former harper.
Rushk will give a very polite smile.
The elf woman finally speaks up. Her name is Remalia Haventree. And she says, are we to be expected that you speak with authority in matters concerning to Miss Val? You speak on her behalf?
Consider us both speaking on her behalf and the messenger between her and you. I believe that should matters prove pressing enough, we could summon her for you.
She kind of looks at you specifically, Rushk, with disdain, and she says, it is a pity she could not find less odious delegations.
Do I know her? Do I know her personally?
You do know her personally. Remalia Haventree is the representative for the Harpers.
Oh! Oh, okay, yeah. I apologize, Remy, but in these chambers, while we conduct business, I would appreciate it if you put our past behind us. It's
then
the
I certainly
professional
will,
thing to do.
Rushk. And don't forget, Remy is a name I use with my friends.
Of course, Miss Haventree.
So you're kind of getting the vibe that you're going to need to do something to convince them that the drow you've brought with you are legit. Because the way it stands now, they're just a little bit away from having you all arrested.
How much do the people in this room know my whole deal, I guess?
Some of them, so Layrel and Remalia Haventree know about what your whole deal is because they're very concerned about information as it goes through Waterdeep. Onther Froom has never heard of you.
Okay. Layrel, if you wouldn't mind, would I be able to talk to you for just 1 second as a quick sidebar?
Certainly. What is this about? And she brings you over to the side of the room to talk to her.
So, just to give a little bit more sort of just to back up the people who we've brought to see you. I was right before getting here. I was contacted by my handler with the people that I've been associating with the Drow, and they had given me a sort of spy device and had mentioned that they were behind the people who had attacked our refugees with whom we've brought. So if I don't know if that helps anything at all, and if there's anything in particular you might want to maybe use this device in order to send some false information through, or things that you think might be useful for them to hear in order to sort of, create some false narratives or something like that.
Interesting. Is this some kind of listening device? May I see it?
Yes, and it has a silent spell on it, and it's currently in a little bag, but here you go.
She takes the bag from you and very carefully opens up to see the spider wiggling around inside, and then hands it back to you and says, and I assume that something terrible will happen to you if you don't set this up somewhere?
You know Drow.
All right. Before you go, you may leave it in my office.
I appreciate it. But yeah, there seems to be a very concentrated effort by the servants of Lolth to have something happen to this delegation, so I have to assume there's great import in making sure that they're safe here. Ideally, it seems like they might be some kind of link to, getting through to a group of Drow that, we might be able to actually have a relationship with up here. So I appreciate you talking to me. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Xastra, it occurs to you that you know a very easy way to prove the innocence of the Drow with you.
Mm-hmm.
Since they are all warrior priests and therefore have access to some kind of divine power, if you or Onthar uses your sense evil ability while they channel a little bit of divine magic, you'd be able to know vaguely the source of that divine power. So it would be very obvious if they were getting their abilities from Lolth.
I will present this option. As you know, both Ansthar and myself are able to sense divine intent to some extent. Would the four of you be willing to submit to this?
Yara takes a second to talk with his bodyguards, and they look very bristly. But then he says, yes, of course, if this will help our talks move forward, we are willing to submit to this trifling examination.
Lair, is this acceptable to you?
She nods and says, well, since both you and Onthar are here, that means we can get two opinions. So please begin with the examination. As this conversation is happening, Rushk, you can feel the presence of a shadow scratching at the back of your mind, telling you, this won't be good for you.
Oh no.
My expression remains perpetually a perpetual poker face. I continue smiling and tamp the shadow down.
Oh
You're gonna
boy.
figure everything out.
I stomp it down like loose dirt.
You hear a cynical laughter that slowly fades. So, Winter,
Of course.
could you please make a wisdom roll versus Onthar's wisdom roll?
Interesting, but okay. All right. I have gotten a 1.
Zondar has 0. Onthar has 0, so you are currently winning.
Okay.
You realize a little bit before Onthar does, while the Drow are channeling, that although you can see the source of their divine blessing, and it is definitely not from Lolth, there is an evil outsider aura from somewhere in the room.
Oh no.
And you haven't located the source of it, but it's definitely coming from your group.
Seems bad.
You can either let this examination continue, or you need to do something to end it early before Onthar notices. Because you know that he is a very militant, decisive, and staunch paladin of Torrent. The moment he detects an evil outsider presence, he will probably draw a weapon.
How would you just quick aside, how would you stop the thing you suggested without seeming suspicious as fuck?
Yeah, this is what I was about to ask, because I have nothing.
Well, friends, care to suggest things that Winter can do to not make this go down?
Take a fate point.
I mean, I technically am a warlock and have a pact with a devil.
That is true.
You do. But let me go over to the regarding extra party communication, section 3, subsection C.
Yeah.
Pursuant to section 3, subsection B, any communication, whether manifested as a literal document, such as a scroll, parchment, or other such surface upon which is printed or arranged some kind of margin, which when read, imparts the knowledge of impression of the words of its creator, or some other form of verbal, nonverbal, spiritual, magical, or emotional language which is leveraged to impart the same meaning between the promised and any extra party entities and or their authorized adjudicators, executors, or other such employed personnel to which power of attorney has been bestowed, shall, at sole discretion of the provider, be considered a breach of contract.
So wait. So, if her presence is detected, is that bad?
Well, you see, if you attempt to, if the presence is you, if it's someone else in your party and you lie and say it's you, that is a breach of your contract, pursuant to section 3, subsection C.
But is it technically a lie, though? Because it is my patron, potentially. But
if people discover this, you are in breach of contract.
So we're both in trouble.
So Xastra, you know that of your party, at least one of them is sweating. Though I imagine Rushk has a much better poker face.
Yeah.
What's your trouble aspect?
I have to see the good in everyone to see it in myself.
Okay. Rushk, what's your trouble aspect?
Let me see. I can't really see it under the... I think it's hemlock veins.
Okay. Xastra, if you want to give up your party and be arrested for further examination, that would probably stop hostilities with the Drow party, but would put all three of you in jail. A recoverable position, but an inconvenience nonetheless.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a way... Actually, wait, would I get a fate point for that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Oh my god.
Okay. So Onthar is smiling and nodding to himself, examining the aura coming from the Drow, and then he gets a funny look on his face and looks over at your party. So what do you say to him where you're like, it's okay, you can take us in? What is the excuse you're giving here?
Oh god.
I'm sure it's
I do not... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sure it's some boilerplate, I sensed it too, I don't know what it is, but we'll go peacefully if you choose to detain us.
That's basically what I was going to go with. I also sense the evil aura. I do not know where it's coming from. I would like to submit ourselves for further examination.
So,
Okay.
when Xastra says that out loud, Rushk will go, "Pardon me, Miss Telarr, what are you alluding to? What have you just volunteered us for?"
I just had a...
I promised we'd go peacefully.
Peacefully to where?
To prison, Onthar growls.
She'll gesture at him and kind of nod.
If I had to guess, I just had a conversation with... Oh my god, sorry, words. With Laryl about something that maybe might have triggered this. I don't know if it's... I don't know what kind of presence was detected, but I do have some sort of item that might be related to this, if I had to guess. That is, it's not because of the people behind us. It's something unrelated.
The older man in the blue rose steps forward and says, "Then surely you won't mind if we inspect you and your companions and your equipment. After
course
all, we
not.
can't be too careful about doppelgangers and other spies." And you see that at the mention of doppelgangers, Laurel has a very ugly look on her face.
Oh dear.
Oh boy. Do we know why? Is that history?
She
Yeah.
fucking hates doppelgangers. They
boy.
always happen.
Incredible.
Now, what's the name of the person in the blue robe?
Does anyone have an intelligence score greater than 2?
I have a 2.
Yes, I have a 2.
Just based on who he's
Have a
talking
0?
to, what he looks like, and the symbol of his office, you're fairly certain, though you've never met him, this is Tarn Hornblade, the High Mage of Silvery Moon.
Oh.
First off, may I say it is an honor to meet you, Mr. Was it Runeblade?
Hornblade?
Hornblade. It is an honor to meet you, Mr. Hornblade. Could I have you elaborate for me on what you mean specifically by inspection?
It's very easy. We will just use a simple set of detection spells on you and your party. And if you're not who you say you are, or if, as the alphas suggest, you are carrying something, we will be able to sort that out quite quickly.
And would this preclude our need to peacefully go where Xastra volunteered us to go?
Absolutely. As you can imagine, the security of this council is very important. And so we take this kind of thing seriously, but we don't intend to wrong you.
Of course.
We merely must be careful.
I appreciate your concern for privacy and safety of the council. I'm sure that is something that all of us share. That being the case, detect away.
Okay. So you know that he's going to cast some kind of magical, like, interrogation, like it's going to, like, scan you and all of your equipment.
Yes.
So how are you going to foil this detection?
What do I need to foil? What's he going to detect that would be bad for me? Is it an item or is it
It's a concept.
It is
It's you.
Yeah. I won't, actually. I won't. It's my long game plan here.
Okay.
My question is, did I accidentally just fuck Daelia by, like, volunteering her to get detected?
They'll detect that ink is very obviously magical familiar, and they will detect the
Okay.
object.
Okay.
Unless Dahlia's patron is present, they're
Okay.
not going to detect anything there.
All right, that's good. All right, yeah.
You're
So
fine.
I don't do anything.
So they scan Xastra, obviously, as the control, and there's nothing wrong with her. They scan Daelia, and surprisingly, the object in the pouch does not give off anything.
Interesting.
Which means it is probably very well made.
Mm-hmm.
And then Karen gets to you, Rushk, and scans you, and then looks at you with a very grave expression and asks, "Do you care to explain yourself?"
I am a doctor in the field ward. I'm unsure what else needs explaining. I've worked at the Dragon Well, as some of you may recognize me from. I'm a harper, as
Former
Haventree.
Harper.
Yes, well, I suppose that depends on who I'm in the company of. I still have not given up my cause. Is there anything in specific you need me to elaborate upon?
How is it that you have the extraplanar stench of murder all over you?
Whoa.
Rushk will present a very convincing, aghast confusion, and will turn towards Ramalia and say, "This is a new low even for you. I understand that we've disagreed in the past before, but I didn't think you would go so far as to tamper with the results of something like this to have me arrested.
I would never. The safety of this council is paramount to me. You think I would use it for some petty dispute?
Of course I do. You are exactly the kind of person to tout safety as the reason for extreme action. I have done nothing but work to improve the health of this city.
And does that include all of the lives you've ended in the supposed service of it?
What lives have I ended?
You know very well what I'm talking about, Rushk.
Yes, it does.
So, what's your game plan here? Are you trying to get arrested, or are you trying to confuse them and get them to the matter?
I don't care if I'm arrested. They can arrest me. I'm trying to plant the seed that Romalia has somehow fucked this, and I want to. Oh, that's what the fuck you do in Fate. I want to plant an aspect, doubt, against Romalia's fucking.
Against the character of Romalia?
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you. Against the character of Romalia.
So this sounds like it's going to be a charisma thing. You are using the force of your personality to get people to doubt. And I'd say this is fairly difficult because Romalia is kind of beyond reproach.
Yep.
So I would put that difficulty at 6.
Fuck, 6. Okay.
Can I suggest a compel for myself?
What's your compel?
I have to see the good in everyone to see it in myself. I would like to assist Faye in this matter.
Okay, yeah, you can have assistance from.
Fuck, yes.
So that'll bring the difficulty down to 4.
Okay.
And yeah,
So-
you can have a fate point for that because you're definitely here to back Rushk up on whatever it is she says.
That rules. That rules.
I can personally attest to Rusk's character.
Telarr number 1. All right, so nobody else got me. I know Xastra got me. Is Hornblade still here?
Yeah, Hornblade is still here.
So is he like within distance of me, within
He's
arm's reach?
right in front of you.
Okay.
Are you gonna like touch him and beg him, be like, "Please, Rebalias, I got it out for me"?
Of course I am. I am going to very genuinely grab his shoulder and move my hand down to his elbow and say, Mr. Hornblade, I may not know you very well, but I'm sure that you've heard talk of me. And I'm sure that above everyone, you would know that there is no possible way your spell could have detected me as anything but an average person. I don't even carry a weapon. I am a doctor through and through. Your spell was tampered with.
Okay. Let's go ahead and make your roll then. I assume you're substituting your dexterity for your charisma.
I am substituting my dexterity for my charisma. I got 1 + 3 is a 4. Is that good?
Ties go to the defender.
Can I use a fate point to
Yes.
that?
What
Yeah.
assholing on that your fate point?
Carrot and stick. This is both. This is carrot because a fucking Rushk is a magnetic individual if she can get her hands on you. This is stick in that I am going to be socially beating the shit out of Romalia.
Okay. I'll let you have that. So doubt kind of settles in on the thing. And since you beat it by +2, that is a good shift. So you get to invoke this for free against Romalia. Whenever doubt against Romalia would help you in some way, you now have that.
Yes.
You can compel that against her. And everybody's like very tense, and the council has come to a little bit of a standstill, and then you hear the imperious voice of a man who thinks very highly of himself. And he comes striding into the room in all of the splendor that a self-assured merchant warrior can do. And he says, I think that it is quite obvious what we have on our hands here. Everybody recognizes the man as Lord Daggold Neverember, the Lord Protector of Neverwinter, because he has ensured that his face is on everything as much as possible over during his former rule as the Open Lord of Waterdeep. I have been saying it all along since the beginning of this council. And the mere presence of Miss Grush makes it quite clear. You say the evil sense of murder is all over her. Why, it can only be meddling from, dare I say it, the Dead Three. Everyone rolls their eyes. Ontharr glares at him and says, "It's not fucking Ball, old man! It's not always Ball!"
As loath as I am to agree with Daggle Neverember, Ball on so many times!
Everybody's kind of like nodding. He does seem to come back from the dead almost every other fortnight. So they kind of begrudgingly agree that the Lord of Murder messing with this affair somehow is not all that surprising. And as a way to sort of like mend the tensions in the room, Laeral is like, "All right, we can deal with this at a later date. Rushk, if you would please, tomorrow, if you would come to or whenever you're finished discharging your duties, if you would come to my office, and we can speak about this in greater detail. I trust everyone will overlook the slight that has gone on in this room."
And to take it then as I need not peacefully go anywhere?
No, you may remain under your own power.
I appreciate that, Madam Silverhand.
So, everybody kind of begrudgingly makes space around the table. So you have the 5 people present: Romalia, Haventree, Taryn Hornblade, Ontharr Froom, Laeral Silverhand, Lord Daggled, Neverember, and then, of course, your team and Nyara and his assistants. So Laeral says, "Of course, I think it is becoming quite clear that we need to reform the Special Council of Waterdeep and hold the second meeting of it. There are too many things going on, too many forces that are very obviously interested in what is going on in this room for us to ignore it. Xastra, Rushk, Daelia, as you are here as representatives of Miss Val, we would thus now charge you as representatives of this council. When you have completed all of your tasks for Miss Val, I would like you to bring a full report and accounting of them to me directly and disseminate that information among the council. Over the next several days, I will call in the other delegates, and I am sure they will want to know all about your exploits in the Underdark up to this point."
Xastra will nod.
Is there any further business?
I believe we've yet to get to the matter that brought the delegates here.
Of course. As the representatives of this council, you'll be charged with providing aid to the refugees of Dereleft in what ways that you see fit. I will provide you with a charter on the authority of Lady Jalanvalos that will allow you to find accommodations for them while they are in the city. Does that suffice?
Provided the guards don't stop me, I'll put my hand on Nyara's shoulder and kind of like gesture like this is where you speak up.
That will be agreeable for now. And he kind of looks at you for support.
Thank them.
Thank you very graciously for your support.
I'll squeeze his shoulder. Good job.
He smiles and blushes a little bit. Okay, is there anything else meaningful you want to do in this scene, or are you going to bow and file your way out of here?
Shake my head at Romalia.
Romalia is glaring daggers at you.
I've got that look of I'm disappointed in you. We hate each other, but I'm still disappointed in you. You were better than this. That unique kind of bite.
She's 200 years older than you, and you still make her feel like a petty child.
Rushk has that effect on people.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a powerful aura to have. I forget, what room are we in right now?
You're in the council chambers, so it's
Okay.
it's a fairly large room. Like, you can fit like 30 people in here.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Cool.
You're gonna dump the spider in the office when you leave.
Yes.
It is super creepy because it makes like no noise as it wanders around.
Ugh. Horrifying. Okay, and then she will get out.
If you will
So that's
excuse me
very
for
good.
just a moment. Mimo wants out of my room.
Okay. Should I make a note here? Or should we just leave this audio in for the people listening to this?
Let them have a surprise.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think everybody should know about Mimo and her exploits.
Everybody needs to
Oh.
know about Mimo. Precious
I
little
agree.
Mimo.
Precious little Mimo. She's like a little dainty tissue of a cat.
Yeah, Mimo is about as smart as a tissue.
That's true.
All right,
I
I'm
have
back.
seen her fall off of furniture. All right, we're back.
Sweetie.
So congratulations. You have now become the official agents of the Council of Waterdeep. Now everybody in Faerun is looking to you to do their dirty work.
Love that
Great.
for us.
Of course.
This
But
means we
you
have
did-
political sway now, right?
Yeah,
That's
it means
true.
you have some amount of political sway. You were basically given a credit card from one of the wealthiest merchants in the city, in order to set up lodging and things like that for Nyara and his buddies.
What would be the most... So, given that we have a credit card for that, what would be the most logical location for them? I mean,
Either in the Sea Ward, which has a lot of temples and things, and it would have like nice, but I'm assuming accommodation, or the North Ward, which is where all the like really like rich catering to people taverns and stuff are, like inns and things like that, which would be much nicer accommodation and would like be a show of goodwill towards like Nyara's regal status.
Oh, absolutely. We should do that then.
yeah,
I guess the one
but-
thing is, which would be the safest, probably?
yes, exactly.
Sea Ward would be safer.
Okay.
The Castle
Well-
Ward would be a better, nicer gesture. Or sorry, the North Ward would be a nicer gesture.
We could always just ask what they would rather have us do.
Yes, I have one question that may inform this. Miss Navalsa, Miss Telarr, do either of you have lodgings within this city? I think we should operate under the pretext that, though they are welcomed into the city guard may not share that sentiment. And the best source of aid in an emergency would be one of us. That being the case, where would the best accommodations for them be? In proximity to us.
I do not have personal lodging in the city. I stay in the Dancing Haven.
I was going to say, do we maybe actually want to have them lodge with the temple, perhaps? I feel like, of all places that might have the most stake in keeping them safe, it might be your order, Xastra.
If you
That
want to
would
have them
actually
stay
probably
with
be best.
Eilistraee, you would probably put them in the Promenade of the Dark Maiden, which is the underground temple.
Mhm.
If you want a similar thing but above ground, you know people at the Temple of Saloon, and the Temple of Saloon could take them.
Oh, right. Yes, okay. Oh, right.
Any of these options are acceptable to me.
I forgot that I did talk to Shiria, and she had actually offered space at the temple if we were looking for someplace to have our friends stay.
Well,
So,
Nyara,
So you standing around right outside the palace talking about this, and it's like daylight now, and the
Oh, no.
Drow are kind of shifting
Oh, no.
uncomfortably. Nyara looks miserable, but is like trying to be very brave about it.
I think
Aw.
I
We've
think
not
Daelia
gone
will
above ground in a very long time.
yeah. I think Daelia will probably give Nyara one of like an extra pair of like spectacles that she has in her bag. Maybe I
will
don't know if she.
move so that he is in my shadow.
Yeah.
He puts the shades on and is very surprised at how different colored everything becomes.
Oh no.
And Yara responds here to your question, Rushk, and he's like, "Yes, how can I help you, Miss Rushk?"
I am deeply sorry for troubling you with a question when I'm sure that you want nothing more than to sleep, but you were doing so well. Where would you prefer to rest, given the options we've discussed? I believe, to me, lodging with our friend Shiria, Priestess Shiria, at the Temple of Saloon, or the taking the place in the castle ward seem the most advantageous options.
Mostly we're just worried about your safety, if that makes sense.
In the North Ward, do they have really large beds?
Oh, look at Xastra and Daelia. I don't know.
All right, so which one was the rich one?
The North Ward?
Yes.
Would it be terribly too much trouble to secure lodgings for us in the North Ward, then? It sounds quite comfortable. And you get the feeling that he's kind of like excited at the thought of like a little mini vacation sort of room.
Relatable.
All right, the North Ward it is.
Okay. So you found a very nice inn that we will name later, unless you have a name for it now.
I do not.
The Silver Spoon.
Ooh.
Silver Spoon. And in the North Ward, where we found lodgings for Nyara. All right. Okay. So that's your duties done for that second part. We do still have a little bit more time if you want to get started on your third task or some other things.
Whose dime is this on?
This is on Lady Jalan Velas.
Okay.
You just
we'll
have
be
a
sure
little
to get
marker that you hand to people. And
Yeah.
Although she was the one that, like, does not have a good relationship with Val.
Yeah.
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 So I will get him the largest possible room.
You go to get more rooms so that you can have one for each of his bodyguards, and they tell you that that will not be necessary.
Hey! Love that for them.
You get him a very, very nice suite that has its own little attached office in case you need to go see him for some kind of important matter.
Nice. I think Rushk will stick around long enough to make sure that Nyara and the guards are, like, set up well.
Mm-hmm.
But how long have we all been awake at this point?
Oh, God.
Of many a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's time for a nap. Time to go to bed.
Rushk as a person always looks tired. Like, always looks tired. She looks miserable right now, but is still, doing her best to stay smiley or stay presentable.
She's just been, like, giving us all caffeine pills this entire time.
Basically. She has been taking quite a lot of things from that pill case she has. Now, Miss Xastra, pardon me, Miss Telarr, and Daelia, I do not know how the constitution of an elf affects the need for sleep, but I'm terribly sorry to say that I am exhausted. Would it be absolutely unforgiving if I asked for a brief reprieve before we set out for our third task?
I think rest would probably be
not.
wise for all of us. It has been quite a long day. If it is still the same day, I don't think it is.
It is
It's a
the
new
morning
day.
of another day.
Underground, and being underground messes with your head a little bit.
I will leave it up to the two of you as to when we will depart. You can come and find me at my clinic when you are ready. And with that, Rushk will give a little bow to both of them and make to leave.
Okay. Are there any scenes y'all want to have before you meet up again to embark on your third task? Or
I was gonna have Daelia kind of, like, sidle up to Xastra before, like, as they were leaving, and just kind of be like, "So, did you get any sort of extra read on what exactly was going on with our companion, or just, weird vibes at all?"
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Xastra.
Yeah. No, I don't think she would have
Nothing?
realized anything. If only because of that fate point I got earlier.
Willful ignorance.
Nice.
I don't
Okay.
think it's willful ignorance. I think it is on my part, but not on her part.
God, Xastra.
All right, well, forget I said anything then.
I would like a scene.
Okay. What scene would you like?
So, Rushk wanders circuitously back to her clinic in the field ward, and I'm sure that her assistant is sitting out on the steps
Oh,
after having closed up shop the day prior,
no.
and is like, "Boss, what are you doing?" But Rushk, just very gently is like, "I am terribly sorry, but the clinic is going to remain closed today. I must rest. If there is anything truly, truly urgent, you may wake me. But, provided the assistant doesn't, try to stay, Rushk will lock the doors, draw all the curtains, and sit in the dark and wait."
Ooh.
So you draw your blackout curtains, you put the curtain over the door until there's not a single drop of light left in the room. And out of the shadows comes the familiar figure of Shiria Wallshade, priestess of Saloon. And she says, "I was waiting so long for you. How long has it been since we last spoke?"
Days, weeks, months, I lose track of time sometimes.
You know I can see you, even in the depths and darkness of the earth. You could have said a prayer to me. I would have protected you.
I was busy. It didn't cross my mind.
It never seems to cross your mind, darling. She gets very close to you and puts her arms around you, winds them around your neck and your waist. And she says, "But still, it's hard for me to stay mad at you."
I know. And that's why you always show up. No matter how hard I push you away.
Okay, and we both know that you need me. No one understands you as well as I do. Not even that annoyingly persistent other one.
I want to give you a chance. To prove that you know me better than the other one, as you say. I am tired. I want to sleep tonight. Do you think you can let me sleep?
Well, as much as I want to indulge in you, I can allow you a dreamless and restful sleep.
Thank you.
Okay. So she carries you into the other room where your very Spartan bed is. She tucks you into it, and the veil of night surrounds your body and caresses you into a dreamless, uneventful sleep.
Finally.
You wake up the next morning. Shiria is gone, as always, with the breaking of the day. And you have slept for 20-something hours and surprisingly feel rested for once.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. In that case, I'll, start preparing coffee in the fucking, Erlenmeyer flask or whatever. Are there any signs that anybody knocked or mail, or did I miss Xastra? Did I sleep too deeply? Xastra or Daelia try to come by?
If you look outside the window, Lammy is waiting for you to open up so she can come in and help.
Okay.
Oh.
Still, in the process of waking up and not exactly Dr. Rushk yet. She'll, unlock the door and gesture Lammy in. Be like,
There's a note on the door.
There's a note? Okay, what's the note say?
Xastra stopped by yesterday afternoon. It's pretty short. It's just come get me when you're ready to go.
Lammy is holding the note
Oh.
and is like, "Miss Rushk, I can read it. I can read all of it. It says, Xastra came by yesterday?"
That's right. That's right. You
And
did so good.
you can go get her when you're ready.
Very well done, Lammy. You're doing so much better with the G's and Y's.
I can write them pretty well now too. I've been taking notes.
I'm so proud of you. You've really come a long way. Rushk is just chattering with Lammy as she's like getting ready for the day.
She's like beaming as she like fills in behind you and like starts, like helping you sort things and get stuff out and fill prescriptions and
Now, Lammy, we will be open for only a short time this morning, just to see a couple patients that I know will be coming by, and after that, I will be heading out. Do you think that you are confident enough to stay for the rest of the day and fill prescriptions? You
Of
won't have to do
course.
anything drastic. I'll have everything written out for you and organized so that it's easy. You should just need to fill a couple bottles.
I've memorized all the labels, Mr. Rushk, so it'll be very easy. I mean, I can do it all the time.
I don't know where I'd be without you, Lammy. Oh, I almost forgot. Rush goes into the back room and comes back with a book. Here, a little bit of magical history for you. Now that you've been doing a bit better with your reading exercises, I thought that this might benefit you, given that she has an interest in joining the magical college, right?
She does want to join Blackstaff Academy.
Given that your goal is to aim for Blackstaff.
Thank you so much, Miss Groot. This means so much to me. Books are so expensive. Are you sure you let me read this?
Of course. Of course. Listen, there's nothing more important than cultivating talent.
She is like so like smiley and happy, and she's got pink cheeks, and
Lammy is so sweet. Rushk
she
will stick around.
responds very well to your praise.
Rushk will stick around long enough to handle the clients that she was expecting, and then, once that's done, unless anything else happens, we'll head out to meet with Xastra.
Okay. I assume you have everything ready to go on the next expedition. Okay. If nobody has anything else left to do, we can go ahead and have maybe a scene or two on our next destination.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm down.
So you head out into the wilderness. It's a little bit of a trek. You're going to have to spend one night in the woods, which is not anything new for any of you. And it's actually kind of a nice change of pace to be in the woods on the top of Faerun instead of in the woods underneath Faerun. It is much less intimidating to spend a night outside underneath the stars than it is in the Underdark. Eventually, you make your way to the place that is colloquially referred to as the Fingers of Bone, or the Dead Grip. It is a temple in the middle of a very overgrown copse of trees. And it is a stone structure that is quite old, but is kind of small to be a temple. And curiously, there are no outbuildings. It is just the one structure. You don't know if they rotted away or were reclaimed by the overgrowth, or if they had never been built in the first place. But it is a large cathedral. It has exposed flying buttresses that are built up and over it that hold not just the walls, but have decorations that touch the ceiling. And that's what gives it the name, is it kind of looks like skeletal hands coming out of the ground to grip the temple itself.
Sick.
And so,
Very cool.
as you come across it, you see a strange man sitting on a log looking at the temple. He's wearing orange robes and has a very something hat. You're not sure if it's supposed to be funny or fashionable or an eyesore. And along the brim of the hat sit 7 yellow-colored birds. The man is smoking a pipe and seems to take heed of your approach.
I will call out a greeting and wave.
He waves you over to his log, and as you file in, he says, "It's quite strange, isn't it?
What?
You know, the things that aren't there.
You think so?
Well, you see, I've known for many years, quite a few years, a great long while, that nobody has been able to sit where we're sitting right now. And yet, here we sit. Very strange, don't you think?
Certainly.
Do you know what is in that structure over there?
Not much beyond what I've been told.
It can't be anything good. See, it has a very special smell to it, if you will. Have you ever smelled magic before?
I can't say I have.
Well, it smells not right. I'm a little worried about what might be down there. Are you worried about what might be down there?
Certainly.
Then I
Large
have
why I'm here.
I have a gift for you. A warning, even. How much do you know of dragons, young lady?
I know some.
Do
I
you
was
know live
involved in the
dragons?
incident. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Do you know live dragons?
Several.
Do you know dead dragons?
I can't say I do.
Have you heard of dragons that are neither alive nor dead?
I can't say that I have.
Well, I have heard many tales of them across my wanderings, and they are terrible creatures to behold. I
She
think
nods.
that if you were to make your way down into that stone tomb, I would be careful where you look. But that's just the advice from some strange old man you met sitting on a log, isn't it?
Might I interject?
You can do all the jecting you want.
Great. Now you seem to purport yourself as some sort of aficionado on dragons. I happen to be curious about their physiology. Is that something that you've studied in your, as you say, travels? Would you be
Well,
willing to...
you know, as a hedge wizard, I do quite get along, and I have heard quite a few things about dragons, perhaps.
Of
What is
course.
it you want to know?
Specifically, I'm interested in the... Should a dragon ever be wounded, what would be the most appropriate way to care for it? I must admit, staunchly ignorant when it comes to the anatomy of dragons, the mechanisms by which their body lives, the way they breathe, their fire, their wings, how they fly, the locomotion. If you would be so kind as to share with me any information you have about those things, I would be overjoyed, and if you wished it, we could perhaps come to some sort of agreement as far as payment goes.
Otherwise clueless and jovial expression becomes quite serious. And he says, I take it your question is entirely altruistic?
Yes, of course. I am a doctor and at times a veterinarian.
A veterinarian. You suggest that dragons are animal creatures.
If that is how it seemed, I do apologize. I merely suggested that I treat both humans and non-humans.
All of the birds sitting on his hat are looking at you. Well, I suppose I can answer some of your question. Obviously, dragons as wonderful, magical people, and he's very insistent on this point, are quite capable of healing themselves. But I guess, you know, the standard treatments and practices to dress any wound would be helpful to a dragon.
I see. Interesting. Specifically, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I am concerned that should a dragon's wings, or its, for lack of a better word, breath mechanism be damaged, I would not have the knowledge necessary to repair it. And that pains me. I would, in that instance, like to do everything I can to assist them through non-magical means.
Your non-magical means. Curious, why non-magical? Do we not live in a world of magic?
Is everyone able to do magic?
And that's where, like, the smile sort of returns to his eyes, and he says, yes, quite right. Quite right. Well, Depending on the age and size of the dragon, if their wings were to become damaged, you could splint them with appropriately heavy material. As for the breath mechanism, as you put it, there is an elixir of health that is quite easy to manufacture. If you feed this to the dragon over a long enough amount of time, I'm sure it will become quite healthy again.
Oh, that's very kind of you for sharing. Would you perhaps be willing to write down the recipe for me? Is there... First, forgive me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Would you like payment for that?
No, I feel that this information is worth its own fair trade.
I understand.
And he takes like a writing set, like a quill and some paper out of a pocket, and jots down a few ingredients, and then folds the paper and puts it into your hand.
Thank you kindly. And may I ask what your name is?
You can call me Fizban. Fizban the Wanderer.
A pleasure, Mr. Fizban.
Do you just leave him sitting there and continue on, or?
I'll glance at my companions to see if they have anything they want to do with Fizban.
I will say something along the lines of, thank you for your company, but we unfortunately have business we must attend to.
Okay.
Once we're like a step or two away, can I look at the note that he gave me? See if it's like useful.
It does look like some kind of recipe based on how it's formatted. It is written entirely in Draconic.
How strange. Wonder why that could be.
I'll turn to Xastra and Daelia. Forgive me. I do hope you can forgive me for already wasting so much of our time, but might I ask to waste just a bit more? Do either of you speak Draconic?
I feel like if I had to guess, I might, maybe, just being elf in High Elf City at some point or another, but I don't have any particular exact reason.
I'd
but
say that you could probably read and speak a little Draconic, but it's
Okay.
pretty rusty.
Okay. I only have a little. I could try. I don't know if I would necessarily be able to... I would have to assume this is some kind of recipe, so I don't know if I would have all the particulars, but I could attempt it.
If you wouldn't mind, Miss Navalsa, I would be eternally grateful.
So you can't read all of the exact instructions or ingredients, but as far as you know, confirming with Rushk, the things you can read are indeed non-magical medicinal agreements, or ingredients rather, and they do seem to be like the process seems to be mixing and distilling them into something drinkable.
Okay.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So it appears that the man did give you some sort of actual recipe, so I have to assume there's probably someone in the city that would be able to help you much better than I could, but it looks like it's something legitimate.
Thank you so much, Daelia.
Of course.
I'm truly grateful. Rushk, unless you try to move out of the way, Rushk will gently squeeze your shoulder.
She'll just she'll kind of just tense up a little bit, but outside of that, nothing. Just smile.
Are you averse to... Should I not have?
Oh, no. Hey, growing up the way that I did, I still just didn't get a lot of physical contact, so it is appreciated, trust me.
I understand.
Just
I will
not
be
always
more mindful.
expected. No, it's totally fine. So, do we want to go take care of Schrodinger's dragon that may or may not be down this temple? Is it a dragon? Is it not a dragon? We don't know.
Fizban is still sitting on his log, and you notice that a floating magical book has now appeared, and he is dictating to it the details of your encounter, and perhaps more as he saw it than it actually occurred, as it is quite a long-winded tale.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my god.
Well, that's none of my business.
So, you can tell, especially you, Rushk, and that Daelia, you know that there used to be like a lot of magic here, and you can feel the residuals of it because you grew up in Mithranor, which possessed its own quite strong mythal. And being able to see the weave, like, you know that there was some kind of strong magical construction here. And so you and Rushk both notice the signs of it. Rushk the mundane ones, you the magical ones. And there is some kind of vibration or feeling in the weave that is coming from deep beneath the ground underneath the temple. Either the source of the previous mythal or a smaller one constructed inside the first. Two things. The first is, as you approach the door to enter, all of you notice that you have been being watched by a group of small, hooded figures, like very, very small, easily half your height. They are hiding behind trees and looking over hills, and they've just been watching you talk to Fizban and then approach the temple.
Hey, kobolds. I hope they're kobolds.
Are they, like, recognizable at a distance, like silhouettes? Would we know?
Do they have a tail?
They're wearing cloaks, so it's hard to tell. But the cloaks do appear to have space for two kind of triangles that jut out from the top of them. So either they have some kind of long ears, or perhaps they are horned.
Are they, in what we can tell, are they hostile? Are they, like, cornering us?
You don't see any weapons, and they don't make a move to approach you. They're just watching you.
I think Daelia will probably, kind of, maybe. She'll probably start to walk over unless anyone stops her.
As you move to approach them, they scatter. They disappear into the undergrowth and beneath the hill.
Something to keep an eye out for.
I was going to say, do we particularly care in investigating this? Because I can't have Ink go check it out, invisibly if we want, but I don't know if we want to just get to matters or see what else is going on.
Perhaps we should investigate the situation with the mythal first.
All right.
On our way out. If they've returned, you could send Ink.
Okay.
If of course, I don't want to volunteer your friend for anything dangerous.
Oh no. I'm not too worried. He can take care of himself just fine. But yeah,
personally, I would rather know what our friends behind us are up to.
Okay.
Since the mythal isn't exactly going anywhere.
This is true.
One Rushk gestures to the empty space where one used to be, one would think.
Hopefully not going anywhere quickly. That's fine.
I'll let you spend a little bit of time searching. I don't think you need to roll anything or search too deeply.
Okay.
But when you check the area where they were, you notice some very small holes in various locations in the ground that would be too small for you to crawl through. You could send Ink if you want, but it's likely that's where whatever was watching you came from.
Okay.
The fact that the angle of them and the depth to them suggests that they probably go quite far underground. So as you explore the area beneath the temple, they might overlap. But currently the only way you have to scout them is if you'd sent Ink in there, and there was a lot of them and only one of Ink, so that might not be worth it.
I was mostly just gonna have Ink go invisible and just scout more than anything, but
no, it's very easy to find the little hidey holes that they disappeared into.
Okay.
You don't sense any kind of maliciousness or anything. It's not like they had traps set up. There's nothing at the entrance to the little burrows. You didn't see any weapons.
Well, we can either... I'm fine with sending them down, or if we just want to sort of see what happens when we get down there, we can always do that too.
It's your call.
I'm tempted to believe that investigating it further would be needlessly antagonizing them.
All right.
I think that whatever they are, be they animals or people, it is best to let them lead.
Okay.
Xastra nods.
We've hit the 2-hour mark here. Would we like to go ahead and stop playing for now?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm good with this.
Faye, your thoughts?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was majority, so I just remained quiet.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us then for this episode, which I think is episode 2 of Drow and Dracoliches. When we come back next time, we will be exploring the halls of the Dead Grip.
Mm.
Please look forward to it.
The Dead
Oh
Grip.
boy.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.